There are so many JRPGs out there, especially nowadays. This is like the golden era of RPGs, especially on the Switch. But there are so many that we often forget about that were so good or had such a big impact on us that we wanted to talk about some of those today. And we brought on Erek Ladd to have the conversation with us. So, what's up, guys? How's it going, Eric?
It's great to be here. Thank you so much, guys, for asking me to to introduce myself and be here and chat some maybe forgotten JRPGs. It's going to be a great time. Looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Glad to
man.
have you
What do
on.
you what you playing these days, homie?
Same as you guys. Claire Obscure just came out less than 2 days ago. So
Yeah.
I'm only about an hour and a half into it. Parenting and responsibilities and stuff has kept me away from doing that. But it's so far so good.
That sounds like excuses, brother. No, I'm just kidding.
I think so. I need to up my game.
Slam, how's it going for you, buddy?
Oh, it's going great. And I'm going to tell you why. Listen, I beat Xenoblade Chronicles X finally. 80 hours
Nice.
of just
Wow.
playing this game, getting lost in this game. I still have the epilogue. I'm going to wait. I'm going to have some self-control, and I'm going to wait until the Switch 2 comes out because there's that, hint that there might be a 60 frames per second mode, maybe an up in the resolution. And if I can, dive into that new content in Xenoblade X on the Switch 2, then yeah, that's what I'm going to do because right now I'm completely tied up in Expedition 33. I put like 4 or 5 hours into that yesterday. I couldn't put it down. Complete black hole of time for that game. Just totally got lost in it. That story is insane. It's so good.
Yo.
Like I'm so hooked in. I can't stop playing this. So yeah, Expedition 33 is, basically the entirety of my time right now. But between Xenoblade X and Expedition 33, I played a ton of Lunar. And I just dropped a video today. Go check it out if you haven't yet. Really, really enjoy those games. You want like a nice, cozy, feel good JRPG that just like brings back the nostalgia, with the music and, just overall classic JRPG vibes, then Lunar is the one. It is so good. So good.
Great vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, brother. I mean, it sounds like, I don't know. Sounds like it's not really self-control to wait for the Switch 2. It's that you just really wanted to play Expedition 33.
Yeah,
which is fine.
I'm not playing anything else.
Yeah. You just got to admit it to the world, brother. It's all right.
Yeah.
No, I'm doing the same thing, man. Well, first of all, I'm using a different computer today. So for those of you watching, if I'm looking a little crispy, that's what's going on. We'll be back to a better camera next week. But yeah, I've been playing Expedition 33 as well. I've been doing all of it, right? Xenoblade, Lunar, the same group of games. I also I'm gonna finish these games at some point in my life, but my daughter asked me to start Pokemon Colosseum 2 or XD Gale of Darkness because I started the first one again, found my old memory card, started playing it, had a really great time with it. It was way better than I expected, and I think I told the story last week, but I found out that I'd never actually beat the game, and I thought I had, so I actually beat it. It was great. I had a good time with it. So started XD Gale of Darkness because that's much better for her to watch than Expedition 33. But I'm just playing that when they're here for now. I do want to get back to that one, but yeah, Expedition 33, man, I am absolutely blown away. I had a friend over yesterday when I started it, and I was just like jaw dropped the entire intro, like just the prologue. I was like, oh my gosh, like you get in there, you're like, well, this is weird. You don't really know what to expect. And then you start talking to some of the characters and learning what's going on and seeing them grapple with the situation, like looking at NPCs grappling with their families. And you just get sucked into this game. There's like an immersion that's masterful. Um, and then even in the very beginning of the first act, I was talking to my buddy about this. There are these like corridors that you go down, and typically in an RPG, like that's something to critique. Like Final Fantasy 13, people are like, "Oh, it's just corridors; it's not open." But in Expedition 33, you're walking around, and it's like tense and weird, and you don't know what's going to pop out, and then you start seeing things around and you're like, wait, is that what I think it is what happened here? Like, why did this happen? You just it's almost like you're experiencing what the characters are experiencing, because that area is totally new to them as well. And again, just their ability to capture that immersion is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm blown away with this game so far. The music and the characters and the story and the battle system is just so good. I
Very good.
am absolutely addicted.
The
I don't
pacing
think
in
I've been
it,
addicted to this in a long time.
yeah, the pacing is really good too. And I feel like I need to comment on that too, because sometimes you'll be playing a game and you'll get to a point where you feel like you want to stop because you're doing too much of the same thing, whether that be I'm trudging through from point A to point B, doing a lot of back to back to back combat without a lot of payoff in terms of story, and vice versa. You might get long story, segments without a lot of payoff through gameplay. This game balances that so well, right? As soon as you feel like, man, I've been playing, you know, the gameplay, back to back enemies, just going through area to area, I feel like I need that more story. And then, like, you get it. You know what I mean? It delivers. And I think
Yeah.
Expedition 33 kind of handles pacing just so incredibly well.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, we could just talk about this the entire podcast. I am blown away. I expected it to be good, but it's just hitting on a different level. And I'm just gonna say this, like, Square Enix, because you watch all of our episodes faithfully. Y'all need to like study this game and apply some of this to Final Fantasy 17. Like, if you're looking for a way to modernize turn-based combat and make a game mature like 16, but in a way that doesn't feel off-putting for some people, like, they just struck a balance in this game. This is just an unbelievably beautiful, well-crafted, fun JRPG, or whatever, a French RPG, whatever you would call this. It's so good. So
I
I'd love
saw
to
somebody
see
on Twitter
this.
say it's a J
Yeah.
apostrophe
RPG,
RPG.
yeah.
JRPG.
I like that.
It's French.
That was good.
That's so good. Yeah, I really hope this is a game that kind of catapults the genre forward into something new, especially with turn-based combat, because man, they nailed it. They nailed it. All of the extra things you can do, the parry system, everything about it is just so good. And it's, oh man, I gotta stop, because really I could go on and on about this game. So if you're watching this and you have just considered that game, you're not sure about it, it looks different or whatever, you just got to give it a shot. It's so good. It is really, really good.
Yeah.
So this will be a JRPG that we fondly remember. Oh, look at that. But there are many that we often forget, or they're not talked about enough, or we think they're not talked about enough. I'm sure some of these games that we talk about in this podcast, some of our viewers will have heard, probably because of us, but we're going to bring them up anyway. So to start this round, we're going to do the rounds and we're going to bring them up and we're going to talk about them. And we wanted to start with Erek, since he is our guest here. So Erek, what is a game that you think is awesome but is often overlooked or forgotten?
This is a great one, and this is one that probably directly influenced Expedition 33, and that's Legend of Dragoon. This is a game that, like, you can see the callback so clearly in the battle system, because in Legend of Dragoon you had your additions, which is like real-time input-based control, or whatever selections, so you can press X to do more damage. It felt a little bit more engaging and made it feel a little bit more skill-based than some of its contemporaries. Obviously, it's not the first game to have done that, but it just worked so well in that scenario. And at that time when it came out, Legend of Dragoon was like a more realistic looking game, as opposed to like some of its contemporaries. It had a little bit more of the story is kind of like so, but it seemed to try to be a little bit more, again, realistic. So it has that callback to classic JRPG stuff, but it has its own unique twist with war and the history of the Dragoons, and all your main characters fall around and try to stop this evil in the world, and they all become dragoons, and you realize there was dragoons before. There's like so much also like unexplored lore in that game. It's a game that I would love to see more of. Not a sequel, but actually a prequel. And then like there was some really great cinematic flair in that game as well. Like it had great CG cutscenes, beautiful stuff. And it's a game I didn't play until 2020.
Okay.
I played it on my PSP Go, which might not be the best console for that, but I do remember playing it when I was a kid, and it's one of those ones that I remember playing, and then as I got older, I was like, what was that game? Oh yeah, I should get back to that at some stage. And I found out it's like kind of a cult classic a little bit, didn't do very well. They were starting to work on a sequel, never panned out. Legend of Dragoon, it's one of my favorite games of all time, actually. It's definitely an underrated, underappreciated one that we can see influence of now with even this latest release, Expedition 33.
Yeah, I don't think I knew that they were working on a sequel and it didn't pan out. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
I think I did hear of that. I'm also a diehard Legend of Dragoon guy.
What?
It's been on a lot of my lists. I talk about it a bit on my channel, maybe here and there. Even I've maybe mentioned it 10 or so times on the podcast. But love Legend of Dragoon. I have a lot of great memories with this one. It's pure nostalgia for me. This game, when I was growing up, it was one of the ones that really was kind of starting to get me into the more advanced JRPGs, when I was a kid. And so, yeah, Legend of Dragoon was just so good at the time. I need to go back and play it. I haven't played it for at least like 15 years. So, yeah.
I have it. You can't see it with this horrible camera, but I have it sticking right there. So I also want to I want to get back to it. Yeah. Thanks, camera. It like lit up for me so that you could see Legend of Dragoon back there. Yeah, I'd love to get back to that one too. And honestly, like we've toyed with or talked about, the idea of Legend of Dragoon being remade. There was one podcast where we talked about whether or not it should be, would we buy it if it was just ported on a cartridge to the Switch, right? But I gotta say, I'm gonna try really hard not to make this entire podcast about Expedition 33, but it really makes me want them to like take a crack at a remake of Legend of Dragoon and just steal some of the stuff from Expedition 33 in terms of the battle system. Like if you could take the additions and enhance them to be a little bit more like Clair Obscur, it would be so good. I would love to see something like that. And now that we like have this in our hands and we're experiencing it, now I'm just dreaming. I'm like, oh man, there's so many cool things that you could do with the games that were the predecessors to this kind of a battle system by going and actually, again, going in and doing a full remake. So that's a great pick, and I'd love to see some love being given to this one and then bringing it back. But we'll see on that one.
Yeah. All 12 of us would be so excited.
There are dozens of us.
That's always the job.
We'd love it.
All right, Slam. What's your first pick?
Sure. So I recently did a video of Forgotten JRPGs. So I'm going to try to do the picks in this video. I'm not going to cross over. So I'm going to, if you want to see me go deep dive into 10 more that aren't featured here, go check that out. Otherwise, I'm going to touch on ones I kind of wanted to put in that video, but didn't make the cut. And so Ni no Kuni 2. Let's go. All right. That is the first one on the list. And look, we all know Ni no Kuni was great. It was this game that kind of I feel like nobody really expected to be as good as it was. And it came out swinging. And so the sequel had a lot to live up to. And admittedly, it wasn't on that level story-wise. But I would argue that the gameplay in Ni no Kuni 2 is unbelievably great. They had like the whole town building aspect that was so much fun, so addictive, hooked you in, right? The story starts off with a bang in Ni no Kuni 2. Doesn't continue that throughout the whole thing, unfortunately, but man, it really gets going from the start. The characters are likable. I just really enjoyed my time with it. It's another one of those games where I had a ton of great memories with it, and I remember just being hooked in. I played it a ton, and while I was playing it, I'm like, yeah, it's not quite as good as Ni no Kuni 1, but dang, this is a really good game. You know what I mean? I really, really loving this game, and it's a shame that it didn't get more love and attention. A lot of people were comparing it to Ni no Kuni 1, and it didn't deliver on that, oh,
Yep.
let's take Ni no Kuni, but take it to the next level with the sequel. So unfortunately, it didn't do that, but it's a great game in its own right, and it definitely deserves more credit. Definitely forgotten now. I don't see a lot of people trying to go back and play Ni no Kuni 2, but they should, because it's a great game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Good pick. I never
Yeah,
played it.
it came out on the Switch too, and when it came out on the Switch, it kind of came and went, and not too many people talked about it. There wasn't a lot of hype behind it, at least not that I remember. But yeah, when that game came out, man, I was really addicted to the building mechanics in that game. I think the for me it was like incentivizing me to do other things because it was like fun to see progression by just letting time pass, because it's one of those, start building this thing or upgrading this thing and it's going to take 2 actual hours, and it'd be like, well, I'm going to go clean the house and come back and this building's going to be here, I'm going to go do the dishes, whatever, right? So I had a really good time with that. And it was genuinely a fun game.
Yeah.
I think the story for me, the story was the only thing that was disappointing, not because it wasn't good, it just didn't leave the same impression that the first one did. Like the first one, when you play the first one for the first time, you're like, oh, this is great. I didn't expect this. This is more whatever meaningful, emotional than I expected. And then the second one, when you finish it up, you're kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
I had fun though.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So,
think it's the gameplay that delivered the most for me on the second one. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree. No, that's a good pick. That's a good pick. If y'all want to know why that wasn't on his video that you should go watch, it's because I I convinced him that he needed to put another game in his video, and I'm gonna talk about that game here too, because any opportunity I have to talk about this game, I'm going to talk about it. And that is Radiata Stories. That's my first pick. Um, listen, this game is just a classic, and I feel like so many people skipped over it. Like when it came out, it was it came out during a time when there was so many other great RPGs coming out on the PS2. You had like, this is the era of like Final Fantasy 12, Kingdom Hearts 2. There was a bunch of like mobile, or not mobile. Oof, thank goodness there weren't mobile games. Handheld JRPGs coming out there. Yeah. Um, and so it just kind of went under the radar, but when they made this, they kind of took the now that Suikoden Remaster is out, they kind of took the Suikoden formula and did something different with it. So you can recruit, I think it's something like 150 something characters. There are 2 story paths that you can go down. But one of the biggest mechanics that has still never been replicated, that is hilarious and fun, is the kicking mechanic. Like it sounds silly, but you can go around and like kick all of these objects, and you often find items and like rocks and buckets and all these other things if you just go exploring. And some good items come from exploring that way too. But you can also kick the characters, and when you do that, you get into these duels. And when you get into these duels, some of them are just like, oh, you beat some soldier and you get some experience and it's fine. But the battle system is one of those like arena battle systems where it's an action game, and it's a fairly straightforward battle system where you have some skills, but you basically just choose a weapon and attack. Um, and because of that, things like dodging and stuff like that actually make a difference. So you can kick some pretty high level characters, and it might take a while to take them down, but if you can take some of those characters down, you get a bunch of experience or these like stat items or weapons or whatever. And it is so much fun just to kind of see what happens. And the game is just hilarious. It's very charming with the writing. It doesn't take itself too seriously in many cases. In other cases, it actually gets quite dark and emotional, surprisingly, especially later in the game. And it's just like, I don't know if they're ever going to even think about actually remaking this game, because I don't think it did that great sales wise. But I really hope they do, because it's just one of those weird, quirky RPGs where you're like, oh yeah, on the PS2, these companies were just experimenting like crazy because it wasn't as much of a risk to do so. Whereas nowadays, I feel like you would never see a game like that being developed because it's such a risk to do so. And if it didn't do well, then it could really hurt the business. So yeah, it's a good representation of what I loved about the PS2 era in general.
Yeah. I remember it fondly. It is one of those weird, quirky, JRPGs from back in the day, the PS2 era. I have some fond memories with it. It's one I haven't gone back and revisited. It's one that desperately needs a remake, or at least some sort of remaster. Get it out on modern systems so more people can experience it, because it is just fun. I mean, it's like weird, fun, hilarious, lighthearted. It's got so many characters that you can meet, different personalities and everything like that. I
Yeah.
have great memories with this one.
Yeah.
I got to get to it. It's one of these ones that have sat in my backlog for years.
Yeah.
It's just, I want to get to it, and it sounds great from what you guys are saying, but
A remaster would help.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Accessibility.
Give you an
keep
excuse
beating
to
the
get it
drum.
out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to get revive Radiata on Twitter. I see you, buddy. I call you out every time Radiata comes up, and I'm going to call you out again for this episode. Yeah, no, it's a good one, man. But I get Eric, because Expedition 33. Okay, what's your next pick, Eric? What you got there?
I'm gonna do a classic twofer.
Ooh, okay.
And I say twofer because I think it was originally supposed to be one entire giant game. And that's Golden Sun 1 and 2. These are games that I love, and I know, like, it's one of those things, like, if you're in the know, if you're in like the JRPG scene, like we are, like, yeah, like, how could it be forgotten? But I think, if you look at like the masses of people, so many people haven't played this game or these games. I really like this because it came out at a time where it was able to cash in on the gotta catch 'em all formula. That was still quite at its peak, especially in schooling age, which is when I played this. What I mean by that is you can walk around the map and collect all the Jin, which are a customizable mechanic that allows you to change like your class system, assigns magic to your characters, and also you can change your psi energy or your synergy. Psi energy. I used to call it psi energy, but I think it's actually synergy, which allows you to do magic over the world map. So interact with things like freeze a pillar, so you can walk over it, or grow a vine,
move a rock or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And there's a great cohesive story split between the two games. In the first game, you play as a party of 4 people, and then in the second game, you play as like 4 different people that you see at the beginning of Golden Sun 1, and you can transfer your stuff over, and all 8 of those people merge into one party towards the end of the game, and all your stuff from the end of Golden Sun 1 is attainable through characters meeting each other and stuff. It's really great. I love the sprite work. It's super vibrant. The flashy animations during battles is really fun. It's such a vibe. You can't remake a game like this, because it's just like the Game Boy Advance had a specific like sprite palette, and that it's such a vibe. Aesthetically, I love those games. I love the music, and the third game that came out in the series, Dark Dawn, was just not
on that level.
Not really great. So
those are on the Nintendo Switch Online, right? I think.
Yeah, they came out. They came out last year. I did a video, I think 2 weeks ago or so, about how that series needs to come back as a remake or remaster or something like that. I'm sorely missing from today's gaming landscape. Of course, you can play the originals, but I want more.
Yeah, of course, dude. I love that you said the Game Boy Advance had like this palette, and it's such a vibe, because I feel that way so much with several Game Boy Advance games like Golden Sun, Fire Emblem, like those types of games. It's just hard Fire Emblem, for example, has continued as a series, but you go back to those Game Boy Advance games, and it's so hard to get that same feeling and experience, even from the newer ones, which I love. But there's just something about the Game Boy Advance games, man. I totally get it. Yeah,
Very charming.
yeah. No, that's a good pick. I never played the second one.
So
I
good.
played the first one multiple times. I loved the first one. Never played the second one. Still want to get back to it. It's in my backlog, but yeah, those are good picks.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah. Now, before we get to Slam for his second one, if you like what you're seeing here on this podcast and you haven't subscribed, click that subscribe button, man. Hit like, share it with your friends. We want to grow. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers in this podcast. And we know that we have some passionate people here who love to engage in the comments. So jump in the comments. Tell us what you think. Tell us about some forgotten JRPGs that, or JRPGs that you wish were talked about more often. And if you have any other thoughts for topics that we can discuss, then let us know, man. All right, Slam.
All right.
Give us number 2.
All right. So number 2 for me is going to be Dark Cloud. Okay, so I loved this game, and this is another one where it's a bit of a nostalgia trip for me, because I actually take this back to way back in the day whenever you used to like go into a store or Blockbuster and look at a game case, flip it over, and be like, that looks cool. I'm gonna take it home and try it out. And that's what happened with Dark Cloud. I went into Blockbuster. It was like my Friday night rental. My parents took me up there, and I was like, okay, let's look at this game. Turned it over. It was like, this has got some really cool Zelda-like feels to it, and I love Zelda. So took it home, put it in, lost like the whole night to this game, and it just gets its hooks in you quick. It's very addictive gameplay loop. It's very lighthearted, fun. The art style is great, and the combat and the exploration and how you kind of the puzzle solving and stuff like that is very Zelda-like, with a bunch of like building and crafting mechanics kind of layered on top of that. And yeah, it's great. It got a sequel later. I did play the sequel, and story-wise, the sequel is amazing. Probably a lot better than the first one, but the first one, I just have some really, really great memories with that one. So yeah, going with Dark Cloud. Did you guys play that one?
I didn't play the first one, but I rented Dark Cloud 2 many times from Blockbuster, and I don't think I got very far in it. I think the visuals are different from the
They are
one
very
and two.
much so, yeah.
2, I think I remember being like cell shaded.
Yeah, it's a little bit more like light-hearted-esque, very painterly style, and then 1 is a little bit darker.
Yeah. Cool games.
I'm loving the Blockbuster references in this one. This is feeling very retro, which I'm a fan.
We're showing our
of.
age. We're definitely in our 30s on this episode.
Yeah, back when I would rent games when I was a kid. Yeah. Yeah. No. I never. Okay. So here's my Dark Cloud story. When I was a kid, my friend had it, and I started it, and I was like, "What is this? This is super interesting." And I wanted to play more, and I didn't touch it again until much later. And then I bought a bunch of used games from GameStop for like an experimental video that I did, and Dark Cloud was one of them. And so I started it up. I was just like, hey, let's see what this is about. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember like the intro to this game. And it's a super weird intro, but I never actually played very far, and I started playing a little bit into it, and it was really cool. I haven't beat it, but I really enjoyed what I played. So that's one that I want to get back to as well. But the whole like, you got a blank slate town, and you can get these, what are those spheres, whatever they're called, where you can like get the buildings and start bringing it back and go in these dungeons to find that. It was cool. It was super unique. Again, I don't know any other, like, this is the PS2 era, right? There are just all of these RPGs that are like so different, so unique, that we just don't see those kinds of things very often anymore. So that one's a gem.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. For my next pick, I chose Valkyrie Profile 2. And I chose this one because I loved the first game, But the first game for me, I first played it on the PSP. The PSP was kind of like an entryway for me to go back to some of the Square classics that they were porting up because I didn't have a PS1. My sort of journey was starting with a Super Nintendo. I played Nintendo at a babysitter's house when I was really little. Got a Super Nintendo as my first console. Got a 64. Like we were kind of a Nintendo family. And then I was introduced to Final Fantasy, ended up saving up lunch money to buy a PS2, and then eventually got a PSP. And Square went crazy on the PSP. They brought like Final Fantasies over, Star
Mm-hmm.
Ocean came over, Valkyrie Profile came over. So I got to play a bunch of those games that I hadn't before. And the first Valkyrie Profile was a lot of fun. I loved Arngrim, still love Arngrim. But it was very confusing for me not having experienced it before, expecting it to be kind of like a Final Fantasy game, which it definitely is not. But I kind of got a feel for it. But then Valkyrie Profile 2 came out. And again, PS2 era, PS2 is probably my favorite. Like I wish I could say I love the Super Nintendo and stuff, but there's just so many good games on the PS2. Um, and I I I got it. Like I understood Valkyrie Profile, understood the battle system, and this battle system they shifted it so it wasn't just the like side with all of the buttons representing different characters where you can do combos. They did that, but it was in this arena where you could like rush characters and like where you attacked made a difference. So if you could like get around an enemy, get behind them, then if they attacked, they would miss you, but you could still do the full combo on them. So it just added a layer to the battle system for Valkyrie Profile that was super cool. And then the story, it's kind of like there's some tropey things in there, but the way they connected it to Valkyrie Profile 1 was so cool. And at least at the time as a kid, like I did not see that coming at all. And I loved it. It was an amazing way that they connected it. I don't want to spoil anything if anybody wants to play through those games, but I would highly recommend it. I absolutely love that game. It was very unique. The exploration is all side scrolling, or most of it is kind of like the original Valkyrie Profile 2. But there is all, there's all this like platforming and other things that they added into it. And then you get into the battles and it opens it up and everything. Super, super cool. I don't feel like anybody talks about that one. And then Valkyrie Elysium came out and they just like there's so much that they could have done with the battle system from 2 and they went full action and I'm like why did you do that? Because the battle system in 2 was amazing and you guys could have done something genuinely unique and interesting and core to this franchise, and instead you just made it like a vanilla action RPG and slapped Valkyrie Profile on it, right?
Yeah.
So I really hope one day they either bring 2 back, because we've seen 1 come back digitally. I'd like to see them do a little bit better with that, frankly. But I'd love to see them bring 2 back, and I would love to see them give a go at an actual 3, where they honor the battle system and what they were building with 1 and 2, and they go back to what we had, because that was genuinely something very special.
I never played 2. Played a lot of 1, and then I think I first played it on the PSP as well, and then also got it on the PS5 digitally when it came out. So yeah, played a lot of 1, but have not played 2. So I should get on that. The combat system you described sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I haven't
It's
touched
super
I haven't
cool.
touched either of them.
I know
The most recent one was kind of panned though. Yeah, like you said, because it was so much different. I don't know why they would have gone. That's just kind of like modern Square. Oh, we'll just make everything non-turn based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Square. I don't want to beat on Square Enix too much. I love Square Enix, and I love the history of their games and their franchises. But I do get the sense that Square is in the same boat that a lot of other developers are, where they're kind of scared to take some of those risks. And like action
Mm-hmm.
RPGs have been doing, generally speaking, better on the market, or moving towards the West, at least from their assessment has. So I think the way they looked at it is just like, hey, uh, we want to do a Valkyrie Profile game, but we don't want to take the risk of this being like so unique that people don't know what to do with it.
Mm.
I can't. I don't want to justify too much. I have no idea why they made that decision, but I think they just need to get back to why people love these games so much. To be fair, Valkyrie Profile I don't think did very well commercially at all.
Yeah.
The reason I think 2 is a uh, massively overlooked gem is because I don't think that many people played it. In fact, you guys both saying that you hadn't played it, but you played the first one is pretty indicative of what my experience is so far.
Yeah.
Not too many people have touched this game. So, it's hard to beat on him too much for being like, hey, why didn't you do just a better, more enhanced battle system of 2 if 2 didn't do well commercially, right? They're probably afraid of that risk. So I hope they decide to take the risk in the future and we sort of revive the franchise the way it ought to be, in my opinion. But it's the market's hard right now, man. I don't want to beat them up too much.
Yeah. It's
Yep.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm glad Brandon's being so fair today.
Today, ask me tomorrow. We'll see.
We love
right,
it.
Eric.
We love it.
Give
All
us
right.
our third pick.
Third pick, Final Fantasy VII. I'm just kidding. This is my third pick is a game that I've only played within the last few years. It's a game that never came out in the West. Well, it was never came out in the U.S. rather the West. It's other places in the West. It's I only found out about it because when I first came to Australia, which is where I live, I would always look for games on Facebook Marketplace and trying to get a deal and whatever. I was very much into retro collecting when I was a lot younger and when it was a lot more affordable. Speaking about the market, things are so much more different now.
Yeah.
And I don't collect for PAL systems anyway because they all run in 50 hertz and blah blah blah. I like my 60 hertz. I like everything to look a little bit quicker. It's just what I grew up with. Not knocking anybody who likes 50 hertz or gameplay or whatever. But
yes, he's knocking all of you.
Yeah, I'm knocking every single. There was one particular title that I saw, and it was called Teranigma. And it's a game that never came out in the US, but it came out in Europe and Australia. And anytime I would look for Super Nintendo games, it always came up, and it was always like over $500, sometimes over $1,000 for a complete in-box copy. And I'm like, what is this game? So turns out that back in the 90s, I think it was through Quartet or something, or Enix, somebody, I can't remember right now who made it, but it's very similar to like the Mana series, Secret of Mana, in terms of gameplay. But what's really interesting to me about this game is you start in like the underworld. You find out that like the above ground world, Earth, is like all been scorched bare. Like everything is just completely dead. There's no civilization. There's no nothing. And then you reignite these towers, and then you go to the Earth. You go to the surface of the planet, and you just go explore all these desolate wastelands and stuff, and then bring life back to the world. So there's certain areas where you go and like revive all the birds in Africa or something like that. And then you can move over to Australia and do this, and go to North America and do this. It's very interesting. So you can see the progress that you're making, like actually physically see the progress on the map as you go. The music is very, very good. And like I said before, it's the combat's very similar to Mana. So it's like real-time combat rather than turn-based. And then the world building mechanics is, I think, the most satisfying part of it. Just being able to see everything grow as you make your way through the world. And it's a gorgeous game too. So I've got a reproduction cart that I can play on my American Super Nintendo that costs me significantly less, because I still like to play these games on original hardware where I can. I have this like disassociation thing that I can't focus on games if I'm emulating them. I like to be able to experience them.
I feel that. Yeah.
Like if I'm playing a Super Nintendo on a CRT, like that, I'm like totally locked in then.
Yeah.
But it's very existential. So it tackles like life and death and civilization and taking care of humanity and all that stuff. It's very cool. It's a very underappreciated game, and a lot of people probably don't even know about it because it just didn't hit U.S. shores. Don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, you know, I think Enix went out of business or something. Somebody went out of business. They had a version ready to go, but they never shipped it. I don't know.
Where is it? Yep. It is Enix. I have the reproduction cart. Oh, look, I'm glowing again. The reproduction cart up there as well. Because I haven't gotten to it yet. But that's one I want to get to. I kind of wanted to jump into the whole what do they call it? Like the Soul Blazer trilogy or something.
Yeah, it's part 3 of it, allegedly.
Yeah, it's like Soul Blazer and then Illusion of Gaia, I think, is the second one, and then Teranigma. Yeah, that's a really interesting one. And yeah, for those in the States, I know like in our circles, you have people who will call out Teranigma, but because we didn't get it out here, I had no idea what it was until, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years ago was the first time I'd heard of it. And then I found out that it wasn't even, you can't even get it out here in the States unless you either, like you said, get a really expensive European version or there's the reproduction carts. So yeah, that's a good pick. I'd love to see them. I mean, I know we want new games, so we should get new games, but some of these games that are like locked or you can't get them in certain regions or whatever, I'm just like, throw them on a cart, like get them reproduced. At the very least, throw it on NSO or something, right? Like get it out there somehow so that we can more easily access this game for sure.
It's a prime HD 2D candidate. I mean, look at Live Alive or Live Alive. Like that game was like stuck in Japan.
Yeah, no one expected that one to get
no,
remade. Yeah.
Not at all. It's such a great game.
It is. I love it.
We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's a good pick. You should be on here more. Your retro vibes, hearing what you're saying, I'm like this is my guy. This is my guy right here. I love hearing this.
I'm not retro enough for retro, Brandon.
Yeah. I love the slam, but you're just not as cool as Erek. I'm sorry. Just kidding.
I used to be able to afford stuff pre-child.
No, man, that is one thing. The retro scene, like I've been recollecting a bunch of things. Slam gives me a hard time about it because he's Slam Zany, but it is expensive. It is so expensive. Some of these games I have to like, I'll usually like save up and then go on a binge and get like a group of them. But Super Nintendo era, PlayStation era, Game Boy Advance era, Game Boy Color era, especially JRPGs in particular, they're just nuts. Like I have this list of all the games I want to get. Earthbound is one of them, and I have it sorted by cost. And if I ever want to get Earthbound in box, it's gonna, it's something stupid like $4,000 or something. So send all your money to Retro Brandon so he could buy Earthbound one day. Just kidding. But you should watch my videos.
Yeah, do that.
All right. Yeah. Slam Zany.
Next pick. It's a little bit more of a modern one, but one I felt slid under the radar majorly. And it's Scarlet Nexus. So this game came out, I think, in 2020, somewhere around there. And this could have been an addition to the Tales series. Okay. So if you like the Tales of games, Scarlet Nexus is right up your alley. Same kind of gameplay loop, very similar, story beat progression. It's got the little vignettes between the characters that you get in the Tales series as well. But this one's a little bit more, I don't know how to say it. It's a little bit more obscure. Okay, it's very
Claire obscure.
We're gonna call it out every time we can.
You go out on an expedition. You have 33 characters. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
So one of the cool things this game does is it has 2 storylines. Now, I know that's kind of a gimmick that a lot of games do, where it's like, oh, play as the male or the female and, experience whatever, the same story with different characters. This one is different because it's the same story from completely different perspectives with completely different party of characters. Okay. So not only is the protagonist a different character, but the whole party of characters that surrounds them that you interact with the entire game is also different. Okay. It's the same story, but you're, you know, experiencing it in parallel with, the other storyline. And it's so well done. Okay.
Mm.
This is probably one of the best examples of like that parallel storyline dynamic that I've experienced. And the gameplay is so good. It's, action style JRPG gameplay. But they use like this telekinesis stuff, and you've got this pretty in-depth skill tree that allows you to unlock a lot of really cool moves. And once you get, pretty far into the game, you are doing some just insanely cool combos. And this is like one of the best action JRPG combat systems out there. And it actually had an anime that came out at the same time as the game. And I know a lot of games do this, but I actually really, really enjoyed this one. I thought the Scarlet Nexus anime was super, super good. And
Mm.
the storyline lined up and added more context to the storyline of the game. And I was just all in. I was like totally invested in this game. And I felt like I was the only one. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people just kind of let it slide under the radar, but it is so good. If you haven't played Scarlet Nexus, go play it immediately. It's that good. I promise you. And if you're a Tales of fan, I mean, it's a shoe-in. You're going to like this game.
Yeah. After Expedition 33.
Yeah. Play that first. Obviously.
No, that's yeah. I totally. So this was one. If I remember correctly, this one also came out during like a glut of games, because I was super interested in it, and I was just like, oh, but there's this, and this coming out as well, or I was playing these other things, and then not long after it came out, the price dropped significantly.
Yeah.
I think just nobody was buying the game, and so I ended up getting it because it was dirt cheap. It was like $20 or something. So I have it. I haven't gotten to it, but
You should.
it is on the list. It is on the list.
I know you like
because
the
of
Tales
Slam.
games. I know you like the
Yep.
Tales games. You
Yep.
like this one. You like this one.
Yeah.
I bought it really cheap when I got my PS5, and I just checked the EV Games website here, and it's $18.
It was
I
on the
sold it-
PlayStation Plus thing for a while.
Yeah, it was for a little while.
Yeah.
I had it, and then I traded it in when I had the opportunity to buy Earthbound, Chrono Trigger, and Super Mario RPG. So I traded in like 60 plus, which game it was a whole deal. But I want to go back and rebuy that because it's cheap enough and it looks good.
It is very
And
good.
$18 for a PS5 title, that's like good.
It actually graphically
no-brainer.
it looks really good too. The art
It's
style
beautiful.
is really well
It's
done, and
stunning.
it is very graphically, it's so amazing. The lighting, it's got like this cyberpunk aesthetic. It's very cool.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like dirt cheap on Steam too, because I know they've released it on Steam super cheap. I'm pretty sure I have it on Steam as well because I was like, oh, I could play it on the Steam Deck. So I have it. I have multiple forms of it. I'll get to it at some point. But.
Yeah.
All right, that was a good pick. That was a really good one because I feel like that one just completely went under the radar. And there's an anime too. So if y'all are looking for a cheap and classic good RPG, there you go. All right, my last pick, and then we'll wrap this up for everybody. My last pick is I was toying between, or not toying. I was waffling, I guess, between this and another one, but I decided to go with Lost Odyssey. I know in the JRPG community, Lost Odyssey it's not unknown per se, but I just feel like people don't understand how good this game was, and how, at least for me, it kind of represents what Final Fantasy could have been if they continue down the turn-based route. Some people will argue that Lost Odyssey was kind of the true Final Fantasy, whatever it was, 13 or 12, because it was Sakaguchi that went to Mistwalker and made this game. And the battle system, it's still turn-based, but it's so unique in the way they do it. So the concept of the game is you have these immortal characters. There's memory loss involved, and so a lot of the story is sort of chasing down what happened, who they are. You're kind of unlocking memories, and there's a lot of really great emotional story moments with that. There's also these 1,000 years of dreams that you can discover that tell stories that the characters don't remember, that are in many cases like very emotional. They get into some of these concepts of what life would be like if you were immortal and the people you love are slowly passing away, but you remain, and grappling with that reality. So it was really touching and emotional, and yeah, just grapples with a lot of stuff that you don't normally think about. But the immortal thing goes into the combat system as well. You have your immortals and your mortals, and the way it works is your immortals can learn skills from the mortals, and you can basically build classes this way. So it was a really unique, almost class system that you get by having the characters work together. So, like when you're building the relationship with the characters in the game, it's actually impacting the battle system. You could build out your party in some really cool ways. The way the character stories intertwine is just really, really good. And then the actual combat itself has some of that. What would you call that? Legend of Dragoon, like
The time-based stuff.
yeah, like time-based actions when you're doing attacks as well. There's like a ring, and then if you hit it at the right time, you do more damage, etc. Um, so all of that combined made for this very interesting RPG, and at that time, it felt like the adults turn-based RPG, right? Like we've been getting all these Final Fantasy games and all of these older RPGs that are, some of them could be kind of anime-ish or some tropey games, and we still love those games, right? But Lost Odyssey came out and it was just like, whoa, like this is taking on some mature themes and concepts that I just didn't expect from a game like this. And for me, it's the reason I bought an Xbox 360. It sold me on the 360. In fact, I was so hyped about it. I remember reading in a magazine, I think it was a Game Informer, that Sakaguchi was going to be coming out with Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey, and I was like, "What? This is an Xbox?" Because what I knew of the original Xbox is it was basically a Halo machine and a shooter machine. That's what I thought of it as, and I didn't care very much about that except for Halo. Halo was fun. Um, but when the 360 had these games coming, I couldn't afford one. So a buddy of mine let me borrow his 360, and I bought Lost Odyssey because I was just like, I can't wait. I have to play this game. And I played it on his system and I loved it. And I eventually saved up enough money. I scrounged money from gift cards here and working with my dad there, and was able to go get a 360 because of Lost Odyssey. And then that opened up the door for other games on the 360 as well. But yeah, that one's really good, and this one kind of saddens me because I'm not sure this one's going to come back. Sakaguchi has directly said in interviews that he doesn't want to remaster old games. He wants to focus on newer things. But ever since Fantasian Neo Dimension came out, there's elements of Fantasian that feel very similar to Lost Odyssey, especially like the storytelling and stuff. And I was just like, "Oh man, this makes me want Lost Odyssey to come back so bad." Like if Square and Sakaguchi decided to do this together, because that's what they did for Fantasian. They worked together to bring this to modern consoles. If they could do that again for Lost Odyssey, and we saw that sucker on, I guess what would be the Switch 2 now, I would lose my mind, and I would beat that drum all day long. That game is such a unique experience. It's not perfect. There's some elements of it that are that can be a little bit annoying, especially with some of the latter dungeons and some of the bonus dungeons and stuff. But it is a really really great game, and again a representation of what the Final Fantasy series could have been. So I love that game.
Yeah, I would love to see remasters of Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey. Just you have to have a 360 to play them, and
Yep.
those are two of the best JRPGs out there. I mean, Blue Dragon too. I mean, it doesn't get enough love. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I would definitely love to get both of those on modern consoles for sure. We do have a few more minutes, Brandon. Do you want to make this an even 10? I have another one in mind. Does anybody else have one?
I
No?
always
the
have
top of
them
my
in
head.
mind, but
Okay.
I'd love to hear yours.
All
I'm
right.
curious.
I'll throw it out. Baten Kaitos. So,
Oh, that's a good one.
yeah. Look, these games did get remastered and then got forgot about again. So they've not only been forgot about once, they've been forgotten
Twice.
about twice. And these are amazing JRPGs, dude. They are so good, and they have like all these unique mechanics in them that just have not been replicated. So if you want to go out and play just this completely obscure, original, creative feeling JRPG, go play Baten Kaitos 1 and 2. It's on the Switch. They've been remastered.
Yeah.
They look great. Monolith Soft made them. So in the spirit of, completing Xenoblade X this week, want to call out Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 because those are really, really great games. And I didn't play them for the first time until they came to Switch. And, I barely even
Shame
really
on you.
heard about them until then. And so glad I picked those up because they are really, really good. Definitely go play those.
Yeah,
I
dude.
need to try those.
Yeah, so Baten Kaitos, I got excited that you said that because on the GameCube there was very few JRPGs on that system. I had
Yeah.
like Tales of Symphonia was fantastic. You still had other great games on the GameCube, but it was like Tales of Symphonia, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, like things that were some of them good, some of them okay. But Baten Kaitos, I played that game. I had no idea what it was. I was just like, oh, like a JRPG something. Let me get this. And I loved that game. It was so good. It was so unique. The battle system is like this turn-based card system where you're like building these decks with certain
a deck
attacks
builder.
and things. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
good, and the characters are great. The story is great. The aesthetic is really good. Didn't play the second one though, because I actually didn't know until much later that a second one came out. But I have them both on the GameCube, and PlayAsia has a physical copy of 1 and 2 if
On the
anybody
Switch.
wants to.
I just
for the
saw that.
Switch. Yeah, and there's a bunch of like speed up mechanics and stuff in
the
remastered version that makes it easier to just like get through the story and things like that if that's what
Nice.
you want to do. But that's a great call out because those are totally forgotten and I love those games.
Yeah.
I gotta buy them now.
Yeah, you should. They're really good. Yeah.
Really, this entire podcast was to convince Eric of all of these games that he needs to go play now. So.
Go play them
I'm
all.
gonna go broke.
But
I'm already
don't
broke,
play them
but I'm
until
gonna
you
go
finish
more broke.
Expedition.
Yeah, I know.
That's right. And
One
we're
at a
back
time.
to Expedition 33.
There we go.
Oh man, that's such a good one. Yeah, it's great. Thank you, Slam. That gives us a full 10. So that title is coming in hot. We're gonna make this a top 10 video, baby.
Let's go.
Yeah, but no, that was a great round. These are all really great picks. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here soon. Eric, thank you so much for joining us for this one. We'd love to have you back, especially with those hot retro takes that you have there. Big fan.
I got lots of them. Them, man. I used to do retro. Retro was my thing on my channel originally, but now I've been priced out of that.
And for anybody wondering, just to be clear, on last week's episode, I was joking about Taylor. He's fine. He's not dead. And he will be back on the podcast at some point. Just in case anybody was afraid for his life. I'm just a magnificent storyteller. So there you go.
I love it.
Yeah, but that was fun. I might do one of those again. Just in case, just to mess with Taylor.
I hope you do.
Anyway, Eric, where can everybody find you?
You can find me at my YouTube channel. I'm sure it'll be listed in the description below, and I'll comment. Thanks for having me. But if you want to do youtube.com/EREKLADD, you can find me. I do weekly JRPG content, top 10s, retrospectives, deep dives, discussions, kind of general stuff like that, but with my own perspective and my own twist. And I'm exploring so many games that I haven't played before yet. Like a lot of these in this video, I'm going to go out and wish list or buy. So I'm always looking forward to experiencing something because I missed quite a lot in my childhood being a Final Fantasy fan that I am. There's so much that I didn't see. But yeah, I'm looking forward to exploring some more releases this year and finishing Expedition 33.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me again.
Attaboy.
There we go.
All right, Slam. Where can everybody find you?
Slam Zany on all the things you already know. Weekly, whenever I feel like it. Basically, sometimes I do multiple videos a week. JRPG content. Just dropped my Lunar video. Got an Expedition 33 video coming soon. And I actually, in the spirit of this podcast, about a week and a half ago, I did a Forgotten JRPGs list. So if you want more of this, there's a video over there for you to check out.
Yep. Shout outs to Vanishing Dragon or Jeremy, one of the guys in the community. who actually recommended that we take what Slam was doing in that video and expand and talk about it with some different games on the podcast, because he was the inspiration for this one. So shout outs to Vanishing Dragon. Of course, you can find me at Retro Brandon on YouTube. You can also find me on Twitter. It's at Nova Brand, but still Retro Brandon over there. I will repost and comment and be snarky and all kinds of fun stuff on Twitter, so you can check me out over there as well. I've been a little bit slow going on the videos, but I'm going to be ramping that up here soon. Get some more videos out here shortly, and I love to talk about retro games. Going to get some lists going as well, and we'll see how it goes. But I'll see y'all over there. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you again, Erek, for being here. We'd love to have you back if you are available and interested.
Of course.
And
Yes.
we'll see you all on the next one.
See you on the next one.
Bye-bye. Ta-da.